So how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Congratulations.
Thank
What is the square root of pi? No, I'm just kidding. I've got some easier questions for you.
That would be smart, I suppose.
No, I guess let's start sort of like at a basic level about the storyline in itself. I mean, is this personal for you?
Yeah, it's definitely personal. It's not like the story of my life or
Right.
anything. But yeah, it's personal in that I think it's like little pieces that I've seen from like my life and my friends' lives kind of all cobbled together.
Well, so it comes off like supernaturally, and I mean, obviously that is due to good acting. But you know, how much creative freedom did you sort of have, like as an actress, or how scripted, or what was that sort of process like?
It's funny. It does come across, I think, when you watch it, it all seems very spontaneous, but it was really, it was directed. The scenes were worked out and rehearsed within an inch of their life. Like we took it very, it's a compliment. It's good. It means that we had time to work on things and find the things that we loved
seamless.
about it.
Yeah, so that's amazing that, you know, I would never have guessed.
Well, it's so stylistic in a sense.
Right.
So to really like narrow in on that and hone that in took a lot of practice, and Devyn's a great director. She knew what she wanted.
I did know what I wanted, but I also think I was talking to Megan and Vanessa about this the other day, and she mentioned that they had like, you know, flew down to Florida and then within like a day had to become best friends. But I think there was also something to like taking both of them, plucking them out of their lives, and when they first met, like forcing them to like stay together in Florida where they didn't know anyone, so like kind of a natural friendship developed between them, and I think that helped a lot because they couldn't like go home at the end of the night to their real lives. They were like, oh shit, we're in Florida.
Yeah, we like shared an apartment in this like sort of like, I don't know, elderly community.
As Florida is.
And and I think it was like we had like a bottle of wine and we just like sat on the table and we were like, who are you? Tell me your life. And so we truly became like best friends in like 24 hours. That was great.
And then everyone was split up for, you know, the separate scenes.
Which also, I think, fed into our relationship in the story as well. It was kind of perfectly paced.
Right.
Because we were together at the beginning, and then she continued shooting her stuff in Florida, and then I went to New York, and just like there was sort of like a weird competition that we had, like in a good way. Like when she came back to set, she's like, "Oh, well, that's not how we did it in Florida. We didn't wear that makeup in Florida. We didn't do this in Florida." And I was like, "Well, you this is how we do it in New York, you know." And it would like really fed into that sort of like you're gonna stay there, I'm gonna stay here kind of thing.
It was nice. Like it was actually sort of awkward when Megan first got back, and they were like a little uncomfortable around each other, and that was making me really excited because I was like, yes, that's like how it would be. Like when even your friend that you're like closest to that first day, when you're like sort of getting back in the groove of getting to know someone, it's like kind of a little like uncomfortable, and that just naturally started happening between them because they'd been like separated for so long.
When we'd had like these separate relationships on set, like with, you know, like with the people that we were working exclusively with, and so it was like, well, do you love that person more than you love me? And like, are we like, what does this mean? It was very interesting, actually.
Right. Well, and so in terms of like casting then, I mean, did you have certain people in mind? Did you know each other before this, or?
No, we hadn't met, but Megan, we did like a chemistry test with Megan, and the guy plays Adam who plays Adam. And
will he ever not play a role as Adam?
Yeah,
the question.
There's a lot of Adams in his life. And there were several girls, and they were all wonderful, but like it was sort of like you had to be dumb if you didn't see that like we had an immediate chemistry, like an immediate friendship.
And actually the character of Adam, like as I envisioned him, was really different than who Adam ended up being. And in the same way, it was like, you know, their chemistry was undeniable, and just sort of what he brought to the role in his presence, we were like kind of reimagined it a little bit because he came in and we were just really taken with kind of what he did. And at first I actually was worried that he was like too attractive because I was like, oh wait, there's no way she's not gonna like him. But I think that he made Adam actually a better character because he's a little more dynamic as opposed to just being sort of, I don't know, I think I originally imagined Adam being like a little wimpier or something, but.
Which like, I can't even, I mean, I don't know, maybe that is a credit also to girls, you know, his character is a little bit kind of scary on that one, so yeah, congrats for making him not scary in this one.
We didn't even know we hadn't seen it. So.
Yeah. But yeah, so I
I
mean,
made the movie like 5 years ago, something crazy.
I'm like, wow, I look really young in this movie.
Yeah, it's
well,
been a long process.
I was gonna ask that too. Like, how long exactly was the sort of process? Like, in terms of when you wrote it, and then I'm sure it's huge.
I think it's, man, I don't even remember like the years anymore, but it took like maybe a year and a half to write the script, but it was like there's pieces of it and ideas that were like little sketches that I'd written, all the way back from like maybe it was like 2 or 3 years of thinking about it before I even started writing it.
Right.
And then it took us about like a year to kind of get the ball rolling from when Nicole came on board and we started saying like, okay, we're actually going to do this. And then production took like, it was a long time. We filmed in Florida, we filmed in New York, and then we had to like regroup and raise some more money to film the intro, the Most Girl Part of You, the prelude, and then, so I would say production took about like 3 or 4 months, and then post-production was like a year and a half, so it took forever.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, speaking of Most Girl Part of You, like, how did you decide on that as like an opener? Because that's an interesting little short to have.
Well, I've always been, Amy Hempel is like I'm just a massive fan of her, and I've always really loved this story, and I feel like I very rarely reread things, but a lot of her stories are more like songs or something where I think you can like go back and appreciate them over and over again because there's plot there, but you're not reading it just to like find out what's happening. You're really appreciating all the different words and the little lines. And so I had just read it. I was thinking, like imagining it like a movie in my head, and really got excited about the idea of making it into a short film because it's just such a great story. But then they turned those off. That's like so much better.
It was, you guys have no idea, but there's like cameras of us here, so we're both like just kind of watching ourselves. It's fascinating.
Hi.
Sorry.
Anyways, so I love the story, and I knew I wanted to make it into a film, but I was like, not certain how many people really see short films. And I really kind of have always loved the idea of a short film playing before a feature, sort of like a throwback thing. And so once I kind of got that idea in my head, I started to recognize all these like parallels between the two. And then I think one of the biggest reasons for me that I really like the idea of putting a short film before the feature is I kind of think a lot of someone's experience when they watch anything or read anything is sort of the frame of mind they're in, like when they see it. And I think that having a short film play before Not Living But Drowning, if someone's like thinking about whether or not they like lock their keys in their car or like, anything that's in their mind, it kind of like lulls you into a really specific place. And so I like the idea of kind of knowing where someone's head is at right when the Not Living But Drowning starts. So there's all those reasons. And then when I started to like dissect the stories, I think they're both about transformation and like different periods in like a girl's life, different transformations she goes through. So it was a lot of different reasons, I guess.
Yeah, well, it's nice. I mean, I wish that they would have that instead of trailers, as per usual. But that's another thing that I was going to ask you about in terms of like, putting it on YouTube as opposed to a traditional screening, even if it was like small scale. Why did you decide that was, I mean, it's kind of a cool avenue to take because I think that's the way that things are going, like the direction. So to be sort of on the spearhead of that is amazing. And obviously it's convenient. Didn't have to get dressed to watch it. So yeah.
That's cool. But I think it was probably a big decision because Devyn always said from the beginning, she's like, I want people to see this movie in a movie theater. I want people to see this on a big screen always.
Loudly, very
loud. Like it always has to be very loud. So I think you should almost do like a video beforehand and say like how to watch the movie.
Okay, so we've tried that a little bit on our website.
I saw that on the website. Yeah,
we did. Okay. We're like, turn it up. Here's how you should watch it. It's like super loud with headphones. Well, so like what she mentioned, I definitely imagined when I was first making it because I've always gone to the theater. I love the theatrical experience. But I think when we kind of started to get down into it, we just wanted as many people as possible to see the movie. And I think that YouTube was just kind of, I don't know, something we didn't really think about until late in the process. And then we're like, well, what's really important here? And I think at the scale that we're at, it was most important for us to have as many people see it as possible. And the idea that it's so easily shareable, like someone could post a link to it on a Facebook wall, Yeah, you can post it anywhere and there's nothing gating anyone from watching it. So I think we got really excited about that. And also I've kind of like, reframed it and imagining like sort of how personal it is for someone to like maybe sit in their bed with headphones on and watch it on a laptop. Right. And I think there's a lot of beauty to that experience as well. And we're still continuing to push to have like theatrical screenings, but I think we just got really excited about kind of doing things in a different way and doing things really in line with who we sort of see as the audience for the film. And like, I know that there's a lot of, young girls who spend a lot of time on YouTube. So we kind of wanted to put the movie where our audience was.
I think it's a good little preface to coming to New York, it doesn't de-glamorize it, but it says, this is probably not what's going to happen to you. Well, for Bed-Stuy, I mean, why did you choose Bed-Stuy out of everywhere?
I guess I
sort of the new Bushwick, I feel.
Yeah, and it's funny too because it wasn't that way when I wrote the script. I mean, I don't really know much about how neighborhoods evolve, but when I first moved here, I actually first I lived in Flatbush with, like, in my friend's grandmother who had recently passed away's room with like all of her stuff still there, and like that was really
terrifying.
Yeah, it was weird. Like there's still like newspaper clippings that she had like pinned up, and I just had to like look away. And then a couple of my friends lived in Bed-Stuy, and so it just kind of seemed where the Kim character would live, because it's like I actually love Bed-Stuy.
It's great.
Yeah, I go to jazz night there. I like really love it there, but it seemed kind of where she would be, and like someone who had been in New York for a little while, maybe where they would end up. But for the Adele character who had just gotten here and imagined like, walking down, I don't know. I feel like it's not at all what she imagined, like New York as. And so I thought it was sort of perfect because it's kind of like, if you've been here for a little while, I feel like you settle into a place more like that. But if you're like starry-eyed and dreaming of New York, you're like, wow, where am I?
So when you first moved here, were you waving to people on the streets like, I'm here?
Probably. I don't know.
I definitely was. I was so excited to come to New York, and I was just like, hey guys,
new friends.
I was really excited. I definitely feel like that was a real slice of life moment.
I definitely, resonated with that. I was like asking people, which way to Manhattan? And there's a big sign on the subway. Manhattan.
I would just stand and look lost, and inevitably somebody would come and be like, hey, you need help? I'm like, yeah. Like, people are so nice here, actually, if you just look dumb.
Yeah. They want to be able to give you the directions and all that. So.
People love to help you when you're not very smart. It's great. There's a tip.
Yes, absolutely. And I was also going to ask you, can we please talk about the horse? Like, I'm sure that was a logistical nightmare, but let's...
That's all Nicole. She's here.
What's his name again?
Smokey Joe.
Smokey Joe. That's right.
Yeah. So what do you want to know about the horse?
Everything. No. So, I mean, I heard from Nicole that you did not film that in the city because MTA said, like, no, we're not.
They said no. I think they laughed at her for a really long time when she called.
Can you imagine that phone call? Like, can we just like put a horse on a train?
Yeah. I actually feel like, speaking of being like, coming to the city, like, hi, there's a lot of stuff with production where we were like that. Like, I'm sure Nicole just called up like MTA.000. I was like, hey, so we'd like to do this thing, because we're like so, this was our first time doing this all across the board. And I think that actually that helped us a lot more than it hurt us, because we were kind of naive and just asked people things, as opposed to having that mentality that people were going to say no. We were just like, well, let's see. And I think it worked out. We didn't get the subway train, but we got to film it at like a transportation museum.
Yeah. Yeah, I noticed that the train was a little different inside, but...
Stop it. No, you didn't.
Not at all. It was super real. It was a hallucination on my part. So for you, what was like a difficult, or was there a difficult scene to sort of film? Or because, again, it all comes off very naturally, but did you have anything that made you like hesitant or uncomfortable?
Oh my gosh.
Or was there something super easy?
I don't know. Well... I don't know. The horse stuff was tricky because he would never look at me.
It was really hard.
And I think I had this like in my mind that this horse was going to be like connected to me and like love me Smokey Joe was cool. He just was not into me at all.
He was get to the tree at the other end of the train.
Yeah, he was really into the other end of the train. He was like, I'm good. This girl seems depressed, and he just wanted to get away. So that was tricky working with a horse, I guess. But no, I
actually like pulled him to you though. Like I feel like we probably have hours and hours of that footage, and there's like everything that's good is in the movie, which is really, really short. But I think at one point Vanessa just like grabbed his face and pulled it towards her, and then he like stopped for a second. So it worked out.
He finally paid attention to me. It's really hard. No, I don't know what was. I don't think anything was particularly like, oh, that was a hard scene. But I think there was stuff to maneuver and figure out. I think like the party scene, on the rooftop, that sort of like was this a rape? Was this what is happening? That scene was interesting to sort of figure out how we were going to shoot it and what we were going to do. That was tricky. And I was really obsessed with weird things. Like I got really obsessed with how does Adele get on the train after she's been raped? Like I was so concerned that people were going to be like, where did she get her subway card? It was like a thing. I was so worried because I was like, if this really happened, I would need to have an ID and a subway card.
I feel like Adele would figure it out though. Like I feel like she's the kind of girl that could have like no shoes, like nothing, and just like
she did. She jumped the train. She figured it out. Yeah. But yeah, that was maybe like a big conversation. I remember one night. It was like 2 a.m. I was
someone get Vanessa a Metro card.
They were like, oh my God, this girl still wants to talking about the Metro card. I don't know.
Right. Well, so
just little things you don't think about.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
And so, I mean, I don't know if you can speak on behalf of Megan at all. Like, obviously, she had a different experience in Florida, but I mean, Sylvia's character is fantastic. That's super great. So, I guess, did she say anything about like how different her experience was to yours? Like, was there anything that stood out?
I think maybe the pace was different, and it was really hot.
It was really hot, and I also think in Florida,
it sounds like
was
silly,
so
but
welcoming. No, it's
really
no, it's true.
It was really intense. Her stuff was intense.
I'm used to it because I'm from Florida, but yeah, we actually had this kid from Boston who's like wonderful who worked on the movie, and I have just like such strong memories in my head. Like I've never seen sweat actually pour, but like every like image in my mind of him working, he's got like a cigarette in his mouth and he's carrying something really heavy, and like his eyes are closed because there's like so much sweat falling in his face. And that was like we had a lot of people that weren't from the South or Florida or anything. They were all just like, really? Like, this is what it's like. So it was definitely hot. And also people were like really welcoming in Florida. Like everywhere we filmed, they were like, wow, great to have you guys here. And then in New York, it was like really, really fast. And people were kind of like trying to like hurry us along or like kick us out of wherever we were. So.
Right. Well, so, I mean, where did you film it exactly in Florida? It was Tampa area? Or?
Well, I'm from Oldsmar, which is like a small town outside of Tampa, and so that's where we stayed. The film was actually set in Bartow because I wanted it to be a little more central. I like the idea of the characters being like a little more landlocked because I actually live really near the water, so it's, I don't know, not as stifling.
Right.
But yeah, we filmed all around Pinellas County, and we filmed some stuff actually in Bartow, which is in central Florida.
Well, it's just like nice to have that contrast of like the outdoors as opposed to obviously big city. Yeah. I mean, I was thinking about it today. I was like, I don't even know where you would find puffy dandelions here. I guess maybe Central.
Fun fact, you actually can't find them in Florida either.
Oh. Yep. Yeah. No, you can't actually, they don't actually grow there.
No.
So I think there was like
obstacle.
PAs that had to like drive hours and hours and, like, just to get those like 4 that actually, and I had a scene where I pick one and I, you know, that didn't work.
Because the dandelions were like all wilted.
It just looked crazy. So we had to,
I think I was driving in, like, near where you're from, like I was driving in the Pacific Northwest somewhere and I like saw this beautiful field of dandelions like at sunset and all their little like dandelion heads were glowing and like I just transported that memory to Florida for some reason. So it made sense when I wrote it and so we were looking everywhere. I'm like, where is this field of dandelions? And it's like, my uncle's actually a botanist and he was like, it's not in Florida. So I was like, well, we'll make one. So there's actually only like 4 dandelions in the movie, just like placed in such a way that it looks like there was a lot more of them.
That's amazing. Well, I'll know that there's less wishing opportunity in Florida now before I go. But
you can wish on other things.
Wishing.
You could wish on pennies.
Railroad tracks, birthdays.
There are also like
mall fountains.
Mermaids there.
Yeah, there's real life.
We shot down the street from a place where there were real mermaids.
Yeah, Wikiwachi. There's like legitimate mermaids.
They are making an NBC comedy, I heard, that is a mermaid who washes up in Miami or something and is going to become a bartender. So
she's going to
and discover the mysteries of life at the bar. So I don't know. But and so tell me a little bit about like the original score too, because that is also magical and very
good.
The original, the composer is a good friend of mine named John, and I worked with him before. We've known each other for a really long time, and so he was like always gonna do the music, and it's actually like that's kind of why Post took so long, because we're both he's like incredibly talented, but we're both like the music was always kind of, I wanted obviously parts of it to feel like almost like just long music video sequences or really seamless. I wanted the whole movie to kind of feel like a song or like a record that you like to listen to over and over again. And so he and I had been talking about ideas for it, like, you know, since for like years, even before the movie started. And we knew, I kind of liked the idea of having his voice in there intermittently. So it's almost like a little bit of a narrator. Like when this voice comes in, it's kind of like, you know, he's familiar.
And Devyn had made a mix CD for us, for Megan and I, before we started filming, of just music, and like it's like little bits of like John stuff and some other songs that she sort of thought that like influenced the movie, and that completely influenced like how we are the whole filming process for sure.
That's a good idea.
It was really cool. Yeah, I still listen to it and work out to it. Like I run to
we're
it.
gonna put it on. Like we're gonna make Spotify playlists.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
If I can, I think you have it. But yeah, so that, and I like the idea too. Sometimes like some of my favorite parts in movies are when you can like relax and like sort of feel what just happened. So there's like a lot of little pieces where I wanted it to be like maybe something big happens between the characters, and there's like sort of a period of time where you can like just kind of like relax and like let it like happen, let it sink in, let yourself like, I don't know, kind of project your own life onto it and then sort of like move on.
No, it's nice to have that like process time for sure. And it felt like a little Sofia Coppola-esque there from Marie Antoinette. But let me just look at our clock here because I don't want to hog all the questions. Yes, so audience, do you guys have some questions, comments, concerns? Because I can continue for a very long time, so.
It's like a threat almost. Yeah. I'll continue.
Do you want to continue hearing me talk? Yes.
I actually saw it. This had to have been 2 years ago at this point, right?
Yeah, 2 years ago probably. Oh, you have to go to the mic.
You have a spotlight too.
Oh my gosh. This is my friend Jessica Waxman.
Hi, Jessica.
Waxman. Thank you, Find My Light. So I saw it 2 years ago, and then I definitely thought that we'd be seeing it sooner. And what was the process like in between for you? Was it difficult? Did you at some point think that it might not have happened? And then, or has it been a process of just getting the right people attached to it to continue to push it through? Because all in all, it's been about a 5-year process. Is that correct? 4 years?
It's been long. So
Long.
With
4
Vanessa,
years.
I think. Maybe I'll...
What?
I just remember you
yeah.
getting so excited about the script and
I
filming
loved
it.
it.
And all
Yeah,
of
it's
this,
taken about 4 years, I think. But yeah, I
such a
think
journey.
there was about we had like a first edit, right? And then
I don't really
and then
know
we
what
edited
happened,
it,
to be honest.
and then we edited it again, and then Devyn had a minute where you needed to walk away, I think.
I had to just walk away. And then we came back and cut like 15 minutes out. And then I was like,
Yeah, and then you felt good
And then
about
I felt
it.
good about it.
So
Yeah.
you needed some time
And
to...
it's-
It was about
everything
2 years
back
of
to it.
like 2 years to cut 15 minutes.
Yeah,
It's
there's
kind
a little bit of that. And
the way
also
that
we were
went.
going to festivals. And I think like, you know, it was kind of just Nicole who produced the movie and I. And so we're kind of like, well, what do we do with it now? You know, and so like, there's not really a like, to make a movie, like I feel like that's something I can like see the steps to.
Right.
But as far as like figuring out what to do with it, which now ultimately is put it on YouTube for free. So like maybe it shouldn't have been so difficult to get here. But I feel like it was, you know, we wanted to go to festivals and we wanted to like kind of try all these different things and like screen it for different people. And like we had a big screening in Florida where I'm from, and then we had one in New York. And so I think we've just kind of been enjoying the process of like showing it to people little by little, and kind of like, I don't know, just now it just feels right, I guess, to let go of it.
Well, congratulations on timing and the film, and I can't wait to see how it evolves from here.
Me too. Tell your friends.
Thanks.
Tell them to
Thanks
watch
a
it.
lot.